Many years ago when we first started, Denise and I shared something, which was we had nobody. Like now, we got all you as you're our friends. But back 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, there were very few, there were no restaurants. We didn't have any real friends who understood whole food, plant-based, and what it meant. So, I'm going to stop right here. I want to give you guys a challenge. Here's the challenge. The challenge is that I talk to a lot of people and they say, you know, I'm about 90%. I'm about 80%. I know it's important to have what I call conscious eating and you make good choices. But my challenge is, let's try to be 100% whole food, plant-based, and try it for 60 days. Now, you get the 7-day immersions, the 14-day immersions, 21 days. I'm sorry, I disagree. 60 days, because in 60 days, your taste buds will change. So some of the foods that you gotta have, my meat, gotta have my dairy, it will change. You'll start really enjoying other things. If you go 60 days, you're gonna feel really healthy. And then you could do a comparison of, God, I feel great, and oh, I missed an egg. Well, until you're healthy, you can't base it on anything. So my challenge to everybody is do the very best you can. We love you. We don't judge you. I just want to have people understand what it feels. Because my talk recently has been, why do I feel so bad about feeling so good? You know, because I'm 60 years old. I feel great every day. I am never sore. I'm never sick. Cholesterol's under 100. I feel great. And it's all because of what I eat. And you know what? Our food is pretty darn good. You get to try it tonight. So that being said, I would like to continue my story with my friend Denise. So she connected with me, or I connected with her, and we both agreed that we needed to form a bond that will help bring more people in. And I didn't realize just how great a person, how great a chef she was. And she's been with us as our culinary curator from day one. And she has brought in some of the greatest chefs that you get to meet tonight on the planet. And they're right here. They're right here. And if you look on her website under culinary, take a look, take some time. We've got so many wonderful, wonderful recipes, and you could just type in what you're looking for, and we have it. And we continue to bring in more chefs. So this is done 100% with Denise's effort. So without further ado, my friend, culinary curator Denise. Thank you so much, everybody. Have fun tonight. Whoa! Okay. Never put the speaker by that.
Okay. I will not do that. Welcome, everybody. The Holiday Extravaganza was the brainchild of myself because I am 100% Polish. And I would go to our family holidays and there was nothing for me to eat. And I just thought, ever since Paul and I met, the biggest thing with adopting a plant-based lifestyle is how to do it. The how-tos are the problem, right? You want to do it, but where do you get the food? Where do you get the time? Where do you get the skills? And having a group like this with our small group representation, all our participating restaurants, all the speaker events that we have through PBNSG, there's over 500 recipes in the culinary section. We have a new section under the culinary divide within the website that is called New Arrivals. So if you go to the website and you want to see what's new, it is now right underneath the featured chef. So every time I post a new recipe, it goes under New Arrivals. I also, like Paul did, want to thank the volunteers. This organization could not run without the volunteers. As Paul said, we have an awful lot of local talent that is here today. Our first chef is going to be Vicki Brett Gach. I know I was going to get that wrong. She says it rhymes with Bach. And Deborah Walter, Leah Addington, Sylvia Palmy, Nick Alonzo and Malik, and also Amber Papour. And it's just a wonderful group of people that are donating all the samples, their time to come here because they're passionate about plant-based nutrition. And so please, this year, we're going to do it a little bit differently than we did last year. For the second annual holiday extravaganza, if you see those very colorful booths that are on the sides, the chefs are actually going to sit there rather than being at the serving tables. Because if you were here last year, we kind of had a backlog with people that wanted to talk to the chefs while they were getting their food. So the last two tables really had to wait a very long time. So the concept is, in the order of the recipes, we'll have the first 3 chefs on the wall there, and then the second 3 there that will be available to answer any questions, and we will have servers at the tables to try to expedite the process of you all being able to try the samples of all the wonderful dishes that they've created. Okay? So thank you so much for coming. I was so happy when the snow started. I thought, boy, this is just ambiance, you know. And then I hit the construction on Telegraph, and I hit the backlog on Lasher, and I thought, this was not part of the plan, but it's always a crapshoot, right? So thank you so much for coming. The fact that you are proactively doing something to choose health is amazing. You know, there are so many people in our world that don't. And the fact that you are taking the initiative to learn how to eat a healthy plant-based diet and choosing health speaks volumes at the wonderful character that you bring to our group. So thank you so much for coming. So our first chef is Vicki Brett Gach. She has Ann Arbor Vegan Kitchen out of Ann Arbor, of course. Vicki is a master vegan lifestyle coach and an educator through Main Street Vegan Academy and a certified personal chef through the Wellness Forum. She has a beautiful website, and we often, almost every other week, I'm asking Vicki if I can repost one of her beautiful recipes. She has been a very active participant in PBNSG classes. She often teaches classes with our own Michelle Gallo, and she has contributed to so many different places to spread the word about plant-based nutrition. Ann Arbor News, the McDougall newsletter, the Center for Nutrition Studies, Honest Cooking, Veg Kitchen, Barefoot Vet Vegan, Vegan Magazine. She also has contributed a lot of recipes to the Main Street Vegan Academy cookbook. So we got a real star here. Vegan Friends Cookbook, and To Save a Starfish, a compassion-fatigued workbook for the animal welfare warrior. So with no further ado, Vicki Brett Gach of Ann Arbor Vegan Kitchen.
Thank you so much, Denise. I'm so excited to be here with you tonight. Can everyone hear me? This is on okay? Great. So tonight we're going to be making a raw cranberry sauce, and as most of you are probably accustomed to, is this me? Is it okay so far? Okay. We are using fresh fruits to create a cranberry sauce without cooking. And most of you, I've always loved cranberries, not everyone does. But cranberry sauce traditionally is kind of extremely sweet as a cooked condiment. And so I think it's really exciting to try using just fruits without adding any additional table sugar to this and creating a lovely condiment, relish, topping, side dish, however you might like to use it. It's great on your Thanksgiving plate, but it's also really nice the next day if you have a little bit left over on top of your oatmeal or on top of your non-dairy yogurt. So we're going to get started. It's very, very simple. All you need is a package of fresh cranberries to start with, about 12 ounces, and I like to rinse them and sort through them, make sure that they're all nice and fresh. Rinse them, dry them a little bit. And then 2 apples. So, I peel them, you wouldn't have to. This is a Honeycrisp apple, but you can really use any kind of apple that you like. Granny Smith is nice in this as well. And what you're getting is kind of a combination of a layer of flavors. So you're getting the cranberries, which are crunchy and a little bit tart, of course. The apples, which are sweeter. And then you get this citrus, which we're adding next, which is an orange, which is just peeled. And I'm going to add that little juice that's there as well, so you're getting a little tanginess from that. And then the sweetness of dates, so about 2/3 of a cup of dates. And that is it. We're going to put the top on, and we're going to just process this. And you can really process it to the texture you like. You can make it kind of chunky or really smooth like applesauce or somewhere in between. And that's what I'm going to try to do, is somewhere in between. So I'm just pulsing a few times. I'm going to open it up and just kind of make sure that the larger chunks are going to get processed as well. And I think we're done. That's it. And you can make this the day before. Because there is a lot of orange juice in it, it helps the apples not turn dark. But I generally make it that same day that I'm going to serve it because it's nice and easy. And this is as easy as it is. It just looks like this. Camera to my right. Okay. Does that work? So it looks like this. And that's it.
Our next chef is Deborah Walter, or Chef Veggie. She has been on a vegetarian journey since she was newly married 30 years ago. She teaches cooking classes and specializes in vegetarian, vegan, and gluten-free from 5 years ago. Her diet mostly consists of vegetables, grains, nuts, seeds, and fruits. She loves baking. She loves making vegan goodies. She is a personal chef specializing in vegetarian cooking, vegan and gluten-free baking, and she loves to create menus for individuals and families when she's introducing them to plant-based nutrition. She's a graduate of the Culinary Institute of America, Lenore's Natural Cuisine, and Fran Drescher's Vegan Boot Camp Baking Camp. She has a wonderful granola. You may have seen it in the stores before. It's named after her son, Max Walter. And you can contact her at chefveggie@aol.com. So Deborah, with no further ado, Deborah will be showing you how to make delightful chickpea quiches.
Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah. I don't think it was Fran Drescher. Isn't she the nanny? Yeah. So I'm going to be making a vegetable chickpea quiche. It is actually made with garbanzo bean flour. Has anyone used this? So you can make little, well, kind of like a little cube, so use it as tofu. It's really, really good. There's a lot of really good recipes. This is actually like a superfood. They use it in every cuisine or every country except here. So, and you can buy this anywhere. It's really, really wonderful. So all it is I'm using a zucchini. The only thing I didn't use was parsley. So a zucchini, some red pepper, an onion, and then I just layer it onto a sheet pan with some parchment paper, and then I roast it in the oven. That way you don't have to really use anything. I sometimes will sprinkle a little bit of lemon juice, and that's it. So I just roast it in the oven, and I always put on it, I love, no one's eating it, so I love pink salt. Pink salt, Himalayan, it's really, really high in nutrients, and it's just it has a really clean flavor, so I just always like to sprinkle pink salt. I use it for everything, especially when I do any kind of bread baking. It loves yeast. And then I use white pepper. White pepper they say it's better for your digestion, so I use a little white pepper and just sprinkle that on, and then I kind of put it in the oven and roast it I usually roast it like 375 until it gets as crisp as I like it. And then I make a mixture of garbanzo bean flour and water. That's it. So this is what it looks like. Just like that, I'll pour it right in here. And it's almost like a crepe batter, and you can make crepes out of it. Has anyone ever heard of saka? S-O-C-C-A. It's a bread, kind of like a bread, and that's really what it is. And this is the batter, and then I just take some of this, and I always like to use a little liner, and then I just fill them up with my veggies, just like that, and any kind of vegetables you have. And if they're like really watery, you want to drain them. You want to drain them a little. And then I take a little cup measure, and I pour it right in, right to the top. So this can be used as an appetizer. It can be used as a dinner. It can be used as lunch. It's just a great, great little snack. And then I fill it right up to the top, and then I bake it at 400 degrees for, is that what I said? 350 for probably like 15, 20 minutes. And you could freeze them, and they're really, really good. So, and this is what these are minis, but this is what they come out like, and then you just peel off the paper, and you eat them. So I'm going to put them in the oven, and you guys will all be able to eat them. So this is what I usually use. I'll chop spinach, I'll chop mushrooms. Let's see what else. And that's really it. Oh, I always put nutritional yeast. If you want a cheesy kind of flavor, nutritional yeast is a powerhouse, and it's just really, really good. So I put that in the batter as well. So it's usually water, garbanzo bean, salt, pepper, and nutritional yeast. And if you wanted to put, any kind of herbs, spices, onion powder, garlic powder, whatever you wanted. I leave it kind of plain. The people I cook for don't like onions or garlic. So it's, go figure. So I use celery instead of onions, and you can't really do garlic flavor. But so that's it. And then I just bake it, and it's the simplest recipe. You can make it in a 9-inch tart pan with a removable bottom, no crust. It makes big ones, small ones. They're just really, really, really easy and really tasty. So there you go. To 15 minutes, and then the big ones usually take about 20 minutes. But I cool them down, and then I freeze them. Oh, and the big thing, so you'll feel it. So when it's firm, and it's only this thick usually. So I like to cool them, and then I just freeze them, and then I'll just pull one out like that morning, and you can eat it for lunch. So you're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much, Deborah. Those will be just wonderful appetizers. Can't you just see them set up on a beautiful holiday table, and they will just look so festive. And I just thought that was a wonderful recipe for the holidays, so thank you. Our next chef is new to PBNSG. I don't know how many of you know Sharon Matthews, but she is one of the PBNSG volunteers, and she called me one day and said, I met a chef in Detroit that made the best kale salad that I have ever eaten in my entire life. Well, Sharon's been a vegan for over 30 years, so I thought this was quite a compliment. So I had the pleasure of meeting Leah Addington. Leah developed the LIT Vegan Kitchen that is committed to the community health and wellness, environmental justice, and animal rights. And the way in which she celebrates and has the three complement one another is that she has a cooking service. They serve meals from their kitchen, purposed to aid in the prevention of chronic diseases that are caused by the diet, such as high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, and cancer. So, as an advocate for animal rights, as you all know, when we adopt a vegan lifestyle because of our health, the other things just naturally follow, both the animal rights and also the environment. So she is a wonderful new chef. Welcome her to PBNSG, and she is going to be cooking this delightful kale salad that Sharon can't stop talking about.
Hello everyone, thank you for having me today. This is Sharon, who recommended my salad, which I very much appreciate. And like Denise said, my business is based on preventing disease, especially in the Detroit community, and eliminating intergenerational dietary issues. It's very important to me, it's very close to my heart, that's why I started the business a year ago. From there, I've been doing pop-ups. I offer meal preparation services and just all over the community and assisting growing food and using that food also directly to our plates is very important to me. So we're gonna start with assembling the salad. I prepared everything already. Just throw some gloves on here. And we're gonna assemble the salad, and then I'm gonna put together a dressing that you can use for this salad. Typically, I'll actually marinate it with the vinaigrette without oil. We're doing no oil. So here I've got lemon juice with the apple cider vinegar and a little bit of salt. And we're just gonna start with the kale. I don't know where my camera is, but I wanna make sure you see this. All right, this is actually one of the most important steps of this kale salad, okay? So we're gonna put this dressing on here, right? But here's the secret ingredient. We're gonna massage it, and we're gonna think happy, loving thoughts, okay? We're putting love in this food, right? We're putting positive vibes, good energy in it. Whoever eats the salad is gonna enjoy it. They're gonna be healthy, okay? And we wanna get it nice and covered with this just to kind of take away that bitterness that kale can sometimes give you. Okay, grabbing handfuls, loving thoughts, high vibrations. This is why Sharon liked it so much. All right, from here, we're going to add sweet potatoes. Now, sometimes I'll roast these, but this time we steamed it so that we could take away some of that extra fat from oil, right? So we're just gonna throw the sweet potatoes in here. Gently and lovingly, right? The other ingredient is pumpkin seeds, which I got these from Zerbos, which is one of my favorite stores. Thank you. And we're just gonna put as many as you really want. These are raw pumpkin seeds, they're amazing. Especially for men, apparently they boost testosterone, so keep that in mind. We're gonna throw some fresh pomegranates in there. All right, and I pulled these out by myself. Don't get intimidated by that pomegranate. It's nothing on you, okay? All right, so it's getting colorful, right? Then we're gonna add some quinoa. This I pre-cooked, okay? So this salad it's pretty filling. You know, this is something that you can prepare in the beginning of the week and kind of package up and munch on it. You're still gonna get pretty full with these potatoes and the quinoa and then your seeds, right? All right, so that's pretty much the salad, okay? You can make an additional dressing if you like, which is what we're gonna do real quick, but this is it. You can also chop up some fresh basil and throw it in there. It's always a nice touch. For the dressing, we're gonna step over here. And we're gonna throw in fresh basil. Let me use both packs here. Both packs, we're just gonna stuff it in. We're gonna get some, my helpers are so wonderful, thank you. We're gonna throw some tahini in, okay? And I usually use about 2/3 cup, but we're going with it today. Lemon juice, I try to use fresh, but for the sake of time today, we're gonna use a bottle in about an equal amount. We actually don't need that coconut in there. Okay. We're gonna use some fresh pepper. To taste, however you prefer. A little bit of dried thyme. And I did have some pink salt, but it's missing, so that's okay. We'll put it in later. And some pink salt. I think it might be in my bag. It's no problem. Okay. She's gonna grab it. Some liquid chlorophyll, okay? It's gonna add an additional benefit to this dressing. It's good for blood building and all around for the body, right? You can get it at really any health store, Better Health, Zerbo's, Whole Foods. And we're gonna put just a teaspoon or two in there, right? And it's gonna give it a nice green color. Last ingredient is some raw honey, okay? This one's got additional bee pollen, which I know we don't have to use honey. We can also use agave, but anytime I use honey, I'm trying to use stuff that's local and I know that they're not tormenting the bees, right? So we're gonna use about 1 to 2 teaspoons or tablespoons of raw honey. And I think this is gonna be a little thick, so I'm gonna throw a little bit of spring water in it. Thank you, Sharon. Just a little bit of Himalayan pink salt. Again, to your taste and to your liking. You can adjust after you blend. Yep. It's gotta be locked. We're just gonna blend that up to your texture liking. Some people like dressing a little thicker. You know, I don't mind it being a little more liquidy. Wherever that camera is, that's what it's looking like. Okay? Oh, avocado. Thank you so much. I did forget the avocado, and it's in my bag also. All right.
Of course, we'll have the avocado.
The avocado. Avocado is one of my favorites, so I'm not sure how I forgot that. Thank you.
Was the coconut vinegar in the original dressing?
The coconut vinegar, yes. You can use coconut vinegar or apple cider vinegar.
Is it the same as coconut aminos?
No, it's different. Yep. Aminos is more like a soy, tamari, umami type of taste, where the vinegar is the actual vinegar tasting. Coconut vinegar, you can get that I've got that at Whole Foods, or again, my favorite store is Zerbo's. I have a knife. I had a knife. Nope, I don't need a cutting board. I'll do it right on my hand. It's really up to you. You can eat it straight like this. You don't need to let it marinate too long. Kale will get a little soggy if you let it sit too long too, so, yep. No, it's fine.
You don't have to, I just thought maybe it was an option.
No, I mean, it's definitely optional. All of this is optional. You make this dressing how you want to make it. It's, you know, this is the huge part of being plant-based is experimenting, right? And we taste and we do different things and see what works for us. So we're just gonna cut that avocado.
Now, we just had a demonstration. There is never a silly question to ask.
Never at all.
The question was a marvelous one. What if you're plant perfect and you don't want to eat avocado? Well, then eliminate the avocado.
Yep.
If there is a dressing and there's an ingredient that you don't particularly care for, try something that you do like. If you like a thicker dressing, don't add as much water. So give yourself the permission to try things out. A lot of times when I have salad, I just use a low acidic, really good balsamic vinegar, and that's all I put on my salads, or some lemon or lime juice you can use also. So these are just suggestions and ways for you to come up with really festive recipes as we approach the holidays.
And definitely in saying giving yourself permission. I'm completely self-taught, so you know I gave myself permission to eat whatever, do whatever, and some things came out very interesting, and some things came out really good. So
you know, when your husband says, "Don't make that again," it's a problem.
So we're just gonna, we've added that avocado, which obviously is gonna thick up our sauce there, but still it's gonna add that nice dressing texture. And so we can put it in and we can mix it up, or you can put it in as you serve, or however you choose. It's completely up to you. Okay, that's it.
Okay, how many of you have had the delightful experience of going to Ferndale, Michigan and eating at a restaurant called Green Space? I have to tell you, I have never gone there and not liked what I've eaten. Today, we are very lucky. This is the second year in a row that Green Space is participating in our holiday extravaganza. And Sylvia Palmy is the chef at Green Space, and she is going to be making one of our really, truly interesting sides that we have, holiday green beans with creamy sage aioli. I had to have Google tell me how to pronounce that. So it's aioli. So she's going to make this beautiful dish today. To tell you a little bit about Sylvia, she actually had her own restaurant down in Florida that was plant-based, and when she moved to Michigan, which I'm going to become a snowbird, so I don't really understand, but she's young, she can handle it. But Sylvia came up from Florida, and she started working with the lovely Amber Papour of Cacao and Clean Plate. And now she has actually created the entire menu for Green Space and Green Space to go. And so, with no further ado, Sylvia, you're on.
Hi, how's everybody doing today? So we are going to be making green beans, and just like the lady before me, you can adjust this recipe however you'd like to. The aioli I'm making is sage because it feels to me very Christmassy, very wintry, so that's why I chose that herb, but you can do it with any herb you'd like. So I got my 15 ounces, the small can of cannoli beans pretty much, right here. Instead of the all-purpose, I'm using Italian seasoning just to kind of demonstrate that you can do whichever way you'd like. You could do the all-purpose seasoning, you can do the Italian seasoning, whichever one you'd like. We have a little bit of adobo seasoning here, which is like a mixture of kind of garlic, paprika, a little bit of onion. It's a mix you can buy the way it's already made. 1 clove of garlic, and first time I made it, I did 2 cloves of garlic, and it was very powerful. So that's one of those things where you kind of want to keep it with the one. We got the apple cider vinegar, a little bit of salt, and then with a blender or a food processor, either way, you will achieve the creaminess for sure. With a food processor, it might take a little bit longer than with the blender. Also, if you're cooking your own beans, make sure you add a little bit of water to it. In a can, there's already a little bit of that viscous liquid. So it should be a little bit runny, but pretty thick. Kind of like aioli traditionally is made of mayo, so you want that kind of a thicker consistency. And then the green beans, I've already pre-cooked those, not to bore you guys. And then after that, once they're still warm, a little wet, you want to coat that with the flaxseed and the nutritional yeast to give it like a breading almost. And then dip away. Put them together and dip away. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Sylvia. Sylvia came here tonight in this weather, and she has a 3-month-old baby, so I think she's a pretty great gal. Okay, now I'm going to ask you how many of you have had the chance to try the delightful food at Indo at Kigo Harbor. If you have not, it is a wonderful culinary experience. The restaurant has a Balinese atmosphere in the small lakes community of Kigo Harbor. The recipes are traditional family recipes from Central Java, Indonesia. So if you like Indonesian food, it is a winner. Nick and Malik run Indo in Kigo Harbor. Malik is an ethnic Javanese born and raised in Central Java, Indonesia. So she brings her skills from her homeland. And the recipes are just a culinary adventure, and they're very, very lovely. Okay, Nick. All right. Nick.
So there's 2 stores we go to generally. They're both in Madison Heights. If you need any like specialty Asian ingredients, that's the place you go. The first one's called Kim Young. It's Kim space NHUNG, and it's on the corner of 13 Mile and DeQuinder. The other one is called 168 Asia Mart, and that is between 13 and 14 Mile on John R. That's more like a warehouse. A lot of people don't speak English, so don't expect much help. Kim Young, they do speak English, and it's a family-owned place. They're very nice. That's where we usually go. So first of all, the first ingredient, jackfruit. Now, a lot of people, I don't know if you've ever heard of durian. It's a big fruit. Well, it's similar to that. And what happens is when it gets older and it gets ripe, it turns yellow, and it becomes kind of stinky. So you don't want to get the ripe jackfruit. You want to get young or green jackfruit. What we do is we get it in a can. It's unsweetened. It's just in brine, and you drain it and you chop it up into medium dice. So that's one of the ingredients that you'd have to go to one of those stores for. We get our tofu from there as well. We use silk. It's organic, non-GMO. What else do we get from there? Sriracha we get there, and the sweet chili sauce we get there. So those are all like Asian Mart type of products. Now tempeh, we get that from Trader Joe's. It comes in a little orange package. I think they're about $2.30 a packet. And that's about it for the specialty items. So as I said, the jackfruit, you drain it, rinse it, and you dice it medium. The tempeh, you dice medium. The tofu, you drain it and dice medium. Same thing with the red potatoes. You peel them, dice medium. Onions, medium. Red peppers, green peppers, medium. Garlic clove, you mince. Tablespoon of sriracha, 2 tablespoons of sweet chili sauce, and a teaspoon of white pepper. So you basically mix everything up and you put them in a baking dish, and you bake it for about 2 hours. What was the temperature? 350. And basically it comes out like that. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, so that is a dish that you can use instead of something like the tofurkey. I don't know if you looked at the ingredients in that. I'm not sure why you'd be plant-based and eat that, but it just has a lot of things in it. You know, I always try to keep things at 5 ingredients. But as Nick said, you know, finding a low-fat, good organic tofu is important, and also the tempeh. And they have a wonderful way of getting all these different textures and flavors together in the dishes that they serve, and also that they sell out of Indo restaurant in Kigo Harbor. Our last chef, but certainly not the least, is Amber Pupor of Cacao Tree. Amber, for the last 17 years, she managed the In Seasons Cafe originally, and it was a vegan favorite in Royal Oak. And then she departed in 2010, and she opened up the Cacao Tree. At least my experience with Amber's dishes is they're all savory, and I love savory flavors, and so I've always loved everything that she has ever cooked. Besides the fact that she had her restaurants Cacao Tree and formerly Clean Plate, she also has a catering business, and she's involved with all different kinds of aspects of the vegan community. She does educational classes. She goes with Paul to different venues. I can remember she, Paul, and Dr. Colin Campbell drove during the worst snowstorm to MSU one year, and I don't know how any of them made it out alive. People died on 96 that day. It was crazy. But they don't ever give up. They're tenacious. One of the things that Amber has said that I think is so important, she says, I get so much fulfillment from showing people that vegan food can be delicious. I'd rather invest in that than in advertisement. That's how I build my clientele. It's a strategic business move, but it gives me an opportunity to do what I love, which is teach people about eating vegan. Because if they love the food, you've got them. With no further ado, our last chef and our chef that is presenting an indulgence for you, Amber Papour.
Thank you, Denise. That was a lovely introduction. Can everyone hear me? Okay, I'm naturally very loud, so me with a microphone is dangerous. I do love doing sweets, hence the name Cacao Tree Cafe, but I'm also really lazy at home. I have no energy to go home and cook gourmet food, so I really try to encourage people that you can make really good, easy, quick recipes, and this is about as easy as it gets. You can eat it raw, you could also bake it. Right now, the other reason I want to do this is we are in the heart of harvest. It's fall harvest. There's so much produce available right now, but we live in Michigan, and Michigan apples are abundant. It is a lot harder to find organic, but at the end of the day, for me, if I'm supporting my regional economy, if I'm getting something that hasn't traveled 2,000 miles, I'm not worried about it being certified organic. I'm happy to go to the farmer's market and give my money to someone that is going to keep that money in Michigan. So these apples actually are literally from the Royal Oak Farmer's Market, from a lovely local apple farmer. And to keep this plant perfect, we are going to use oats instead of something that would contain a lot of fat, like coconuts, nuts, seeds. You could easily substitute that in place of the oats, but if you're someone that's trying to reduce the fat, you're going to want to stick with the rolled oats. You don't want to use steel cut oats because we're going to keep this raw, bless you. So rolled oats is what you're going to want to buy. They're the flat oats. Maybe you can kind of see it on the camera, but probably not really. So we're just going to put our oats in a basic food processor. If you don't have a food processor and you're not someone that's going to cook a lot, I recommend just going and buying a $30 mini food chopper is typically what they're called. You can find them everywhere, Target, even like Walgreens or CVS. And you could probably fit the majority of this batch in a small chopper instead of spending the $150, $200 on a processor you might never use. So I'm really big on not spending money on tools if you're not going to use it. You're going to just want to add in a little bit of cinnamon. I like to use a Ceylon cinnamon. It has a nice flavor. When you're buying spices, it doesn't have to be organic, but you want to avoid anti-caking agents. Just read labels. Always be diligent about reading labels because it's amazing. Organic food, natural food, you can go into Whole Foods, any of these health food stores, and nowadays it's unbelievable what things find their way into food products. So just be diligent. Always read labels. Whenever you're doing processing, you're going to want to make sure if you have wet and dry components, you never want to mix them immediately because it's similar to baking in the sense that if you have wet and dry and you just kind of throw them all into a bowl and start mixing it, it's not really going to mix easily. You want to mix all your dry first and then all your wet. And because we want to get these oats down into a smaller crumble, we would never want to throw in the oats and the dates all at the same time. So you just want to start with your dry. So for this recipe, you're going to just start with the rolled oats and some cinnamon. You could use pumpkin pie spice, you could add in cloves. You can get as creative as you want, or you can keep it as simple as you want. And just using cinnamon, most people probably have in their cabinet, so you can just keep it really simple. With the food processor, you're going to want to pulse, and all that means is that you're going to turn it on and you're going to turn it off. Okay, so we're going to start pulsing. The reason that we're pulsing is if you think of something that is going in a centrifugal force, everything is going to keep spinning, right? And certain parts of that funnel are going to stay at the top and stay on the outside. So what will happen is you'll end up with oat flour on the bottom, and then you'll have big chunks of oat at the top. So that's why you want to pulse in general. Whenever you have something in a food processor, it's really important to just start by pulsing. Once you see that everything's kind of the similar consistency, then you can just let it run. They always make a processor clear plastic, and that's because it's a window for you to look into to make sure that you're getting your desired texture or consistency. So every time that I turn it off and I turn it on, I'm looking through to see, is this where I want my ingredients to be? So we're going to keep going. And there's nothing wrong with eating raw oats. You can do, I know right now what's gotten really popular is overnight oats. You've probably seen them all over, maybe even on like Instagram, social media. Overnight oats has really become popular. Those are not cooked. Those are literally soaked overnight in some sort of liquid, and through that soaking process, they're ready to eat. Oats are amazing for heart health, great source of fiber, just great food to keep your body in a very good general state of health. So I really recommend trying to get oats in every day if you can. The next ingredient that we're going to use are dates. When you're buying dates, I personally don't recommend buying them pre-pitted. And the reason is that if you buy them pre-pitted, they tend to be really dry. If you're pitting them, you'll get them moister, but you got to be really careful because one, you want to make sure that obviously you get every pit out, but you also have to make sure that, you know, you got to remember, a date is literally hanging from a date tree, right? It's a fresh fruit. We just buy them dry. But at the top, a lot of times will be that one little piece that the stem of the tree where the date was hanging, and a lot of times people miss that piece. So as you're taking the dates apart, take that pit out, make sure you get that little stem off. If you're buying organic dates, make sure when you open the whole thing that you don't see any black spots. Because we use a ton of organic dates, I can tell you there are a lot of dates that do have bugs in them sometimes, so just look, make sure that there's not a lot of little black specks, but that'll be sometimes either like eggs or pieces of bugs. It's very common with organic food, it's natural. You know, a lot of times you get freaked out by bugs, but there's nothing to be worried about, and you know, just being careful and making sure that you're just keeping an eye out. But that's literally the care that we take. We look at every single date. You know, I have a lot of my girls just sitting there like pitting dates for an hour at a time, filling up a container of dates so we can make our desserts. So you're gonna put your dates in your food processor with the oats and your spices. And then we're just gonna get this into a crumble. So again, we're gonna start with a pulse, and then we will let it go. Sorry, this is a very old processor. And really what you're looking for is that it just gets incorporated, and the little date pieces will get really small and covered in the oats, and they're kind of gummy and delicious. Now you're going to take about half of this mixture and you're just going to press it into the bottom of this pie pan. And this pan is a little larger than I would recommend using, but I didn't bring the right size one from home. Typically, the one that you would buy doesn't have this really extra large rim on it, so it's just a little bit smaller than this one. You can increase the recipe to use this size, but I didn't intend to only have this pan. So you just want to get your oat crumble on the bottom. And if it's dry or wet, it doesn't matter. It's good either way. It can be a little bit wet, it can be a little bit dry, because when you're measuring dates, it's really hard to get exactly a cup. When you're doing raw food, it is the most flexible and forgiving way to cook. If you are scared to be in the kitchen and you're like, you know, I've made so many things and they just haven't turned out, try raw food, because it's so easy and it's so forgiving. And trust me, everyone who's been in a kitchen, whether you think we are amazing cooks or not, I've made plenty of things that were not very good, and my boyfriend has told me, yeah, no, don't make that one again. So it happens to the best of us, trust me. So you're gonna take your apples, and as I cut apples, I put them in a bath of lemon water, and all that does is it prevents the browning. Because you know when you cut an apple, it starts to oxidize right away. Just keep it in some lemon water. We cut these a few hours ago, and they've barely browned. So chop up your apples. We're gonna put in a little bit of vanilla extract. I'm really particular with the vanilla. I get a fair trade, organic, alcohol-free, really good, clean vanilla extract. And then on the recipe I said you can put maple syrup or you can use coconut nectar. The only difference, I like to support the local economy, as I mentioned. If you're someone who's avoiding sugars, I would recommend the coconut nectar because that's gonna keep a lower glycemic index on the apples. But it's really up to you, depending on what you like. You're just gonna toss this around, thoroughly coat your apples, pour it right into your pan, and then we're gonna take the rest of the crumble and we're just gonna cover it. And I included a recipe for you to make a raw vegan caramel. It's on the page that Denise had ready for you all. I wasn't going to make it because it would just be a bunch of blending, but it's literally just maple syrup with some dates. It's really easy. If you've had our Magic Bar or any of our desserts that have a garnish of the caramel, you've probably tasted it, but I wasn't sure if there was diabetics here tonight, so I didn't want to add it onto the samples. So when you go over to get your sample, you'll see that it doesn't actually have the caramel. We just did a lot of the oat crust. But you'll just put this on top, and then as it sits, it'll start to moisten because the apples are really moist. You could eat this right away. You could let it sit in the fridge overnight, however you prefer. You could drizzle the caramel on top of the whole thing, and you could bake it if you want. If you want a warm apple dish, you can eat it cold. Honestly, I've eaten this for breakfast a lot of times. I will probably be eating this tomorrow morning because I'll have this sample going home with me. So, you know, if you're someone that, like, I love sweet with my coffee, so I do eat a lot of dark chocolate in the morning with my coffee, like literally pretty much every day of my life. So something like this, because I really do have a sweet tooth, I will eat this for breakfast and not feel guilty about it. It's also another really good snack that you can have at nighttime before you go to bed and not feel like you're eating a bowl of ice cream, because you are getting all the oats and everything. And if you're not too sensitive to the date sugar, you don't even have to add the maple syrup. So you can be creative. You could also do pears. You could switch up the fruit. You could throw in currants, raisins, golden raisins. You can really get creative with this and not feel like you have to like stick to the recipe exactly. So I hope you're inspired tonight. I'm so glad to see so many people come out. Paul's been amazing. The volunteers are unbelievable. And I just really, really appreciate everybody coming out. And you know, Denise has really organized so much of everything that's happened here tonight. So everyone enjoy the samples. And if you have other questions, I'll be at the table. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Amber. All right, I have to tell you a little bit of the mechanics on how we're going to work this evening. Last year we had a little bit of problems with the enthusiasts going up to the serving tables and talking to the chefs, which meant the last two tables waited an hour and a half for their food. So this is the goal tonight. When I excuse your tables, and I can't win. Some of you are going to be happy with me, some of you are not. It's just the way life is. But the way that I have it set up, the 3 booths over there are the first 3 chefs will be sitting at that table. The chefs will be there to answer any questions that you have about the recipe. So if you want to talk to the chefs, you go up to the table, get all your food, keep the line moving, but then the chefs are going to be at those booths, both on this side and that side, to answer any questions that you would have, or if you would like to have a discussion with them about their particular recipe or how they do something. They love to talk about what they do. Okay? So that is first. So the number, and bring your plates with you, because we are trying to be more environmentally conscientious this year. Last year we had little plastic water bottles. This year we have cups with water that we are pouring, and there is extra water in the back. We also, you have these beautiful gold forks. Do not throw them away. There will be a metal bin on one of those tables, round tables, and I would like you to put those in there so we can recycle them, because we care about our earth. And that way, you know, we don't have to feel guilty. One of the things that Amber said that I think is just so true this time of year. How many of you have ever gone to a holiday get-together and somebody asked you what you ate and you said, oh, I was so bad. I was so bad. I ate so many things I shouldn't have eaten. I hope tonight that you've found some dishes and you understand that eating healthily can be delicious. And you don't have to feel like you're not getting food and treats and things that taste luscious, because you really can create them. And we will do everything in our small groups with PBNSG, etc., to make that happen for you. So as they get the serving table set up, I have a kind of surprise for you. I used to use Ezekiel bread in my husband's lunches. He's a construction worker. And by the time noon came around, the Ezekiel bread had fallen apart and he just had a mound, because I made him vegan sandwiches, right, with the hummus and the cucumbers and the peppers and everything. So I was turned on to Stonehouse bread, which is an organic bread company out of Traverse City. And they have 3 products that we can eat that have no added oil or sugar. When we first started working with Stonehouse, we approached them about becoming a PBNSG sponsor. But they really didn't have any truly 100% green products. So, at Stephanie and Paul's request, Stonehouse started working in their development kitchen, and they have come up with a sprouted bread with 4 grams of fiber, all whole grains, lower sodium, and it also has 4 grams of fiber per serving. And each one of you is getting an $8 loaf of bread, courtesy of Stonehouse Bread Company out of Traverse City. They baked it last night for you. And when you go to leave tonight, do not forget your loaves of bread. They're on the back table by those lovely block windows. And that was totally donated by Stonehouse Bread because they want you to get familiar with their product. No additives, no preservatives, and they don't add all the junk. So the first 3 tables are going to be by the wall over there. So if you could take your plates and start at the serving tables. And then I'm going to try to be as unpredictable as I know how to be without confusing myself. And that way we will get through the serving line as fast as possible so you all can try these lovely dishes that the chefs have cooked for us. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the samples.